So, tell me about hotspot. It's a hotspot mapping?
Hotspot mapping.
Yes.
James, you want to?
Yeah, so hotspot mapping, well, I'm going to back up a little bit here. When we talk about violence prevention, which is what Green Dot is all about, there is this idea called the socioecological model, which is just looking at the different levels that you can have violence prevention education. And it starts with an individual level, dealing with an individual person, and then it goes to the relationship level, which is where you talk to people about their interpersonal relationships and how they interact with each other. And then there is what's called the community level, where you're looking at a broader community to make more structural changes to help keep that community safer. And Green Dot as a program typically focuses on that individual and relationship level, talking to individuals about how they can make changes in their behaviors and the way that they interact with other people and, social norms change, things like that. This is us taking a step back to look at that bigger picture of Warsaw as a whole to how we can make the community safer. The way it works is you take a map of whatever area that you want to do a review of. We're doing downtown Warsaw. And you ask folks to put dots on that map to show places where they feel safe and then places where they don't feel safe. And then they have an option to leave a note on there as well. So they can say, like, over by Jules, I feel particularly safe because there's always friendly people around. What the goal is that then you get actionable steps that you can work with the community to make changes. That's the kind of things that we want to do here in Warsaw. So we want to identify where are the places that people don't feel safe. What are the things and why? What are the reasons for that? And then how can we do things to address that? And then we also want to identify, because we don't want to just be about the negative, we want to identify where are the places where people do feel safe and how can we celebrate that? And then for us as Green Dot, how can we leverage that to be able to create a greater sense of safety? So if we know that people feel safe here at the library, for example, if that pops up as a particularly safe place, that reiterates to us how important it is to hold our trainings here at the library, because we're able to kind of build on that success that's already in place, that this is a place where people feel safe, so it's easier to have trainings and events here. That's kind of the philosophy behind it.
And I do want to recognize that for our hotspot mapping survey, we specifically are asking for public places to be on the map, not residential areas. So I don't feel safe at this person's house, or I don't feel safe on this street because of the people that live there. Those things certainly can be addressed, but the hotspot mapping survey is just for public places or places of business. So parks, the BP, the library, Jules, restaurants, anywhere that is a public place.
And so you mentioned you all are 2 years into this process somewhere else. And then I guess where did the idea for this come from, even going back 2 years or to do this mapping?
So a lot of this comes out of funding from the CDC, and how the CDC has really dictated that violence prevention programs across the country need to address it. And they kind of set the example, saying that this was something that needed to be important for violence prevention programs kind of across the country, that we needed to not just focus on that individual and relationship level, but that we needed to take that step back to look at the bigger picture.
So does the CDC or someone at the state level take the lessons, from many communities and start seeing like threads and what?
I don't know that there's necessarily a framework in mind for that just yet. I know we just had a meeting with KSAP, which is the Kentucky Association, hosts 2 monthly meetings where educators from across the state will get together. There's one that's directed more for folks who work with schools, and then there's another meeting that's specifically for folks who work with adults in the community. And we had a combined meeting last month, and one of the things that we did in that combined meeting was everyone shared what their community level prevention was looking like, because there's a couple of different approaches that you can take with that. Hotspot mapping isn't the only one. In fact, we did a similar program called Photo Voice here in Warsaw last year. So that is that's another one of those community level approaches. And so that's where the state level, where we're sharing kind of across an interagency with each other to say, here is what we're learning, here's how we're taking these approaches, now what lessons can we learn?
Is it easier in a smaller community, like let's say comparing Warsaw to Covington, if you're trying to do the two? Is it easier to like a smaller size community to start this mapping
Yes and
process?
no.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes and no. Like when we did the photo voice here in Warsaw, we didn't have quite as many responses as maybe somewhere the size of Covington would have, but most of the responses were pretty cohesive together. So one of the major things that we noticed with the photo voice is the riverfront park. People saying that they felt unsafe there, or the lighting at night, or they didn't think that anybody could see because it's down the hill. And so we worked with city officials and county officials after our results came in to have signs put up saying that it's under camera surveillance, because a lot of people in the community didn't realize that they had that. I didn't realize that. And I think that makes people feel a little bit better, like, oh, it is being monitored, it is being watched. So that was one of the positives that was able to come out. Being a smaller community, the opinion was the same, but we are definitely working with less people, less responses. So, and the other thing is, like we had done with our photo voice, kind of changing the way that we structure the surveys, making sure that they can be anonymous, because one person in Covington is a lot less likely to be recognized or scrutinized by their answer than one person in Warsaw.
So, and it sounds like what you're saying too is that the city and the county have been really good partners as far as taking this very seriously and listening and then reacting.
It was very quick after we received all of our data and kind of went through it. We presented it to Ryan Morris, more than happy to help us try to figure out a way that we could take our data and take the funds that were available to us, and what can we do to make it safer that is within our means to do.
What are some takeaways that you all have, like either going through the process or just the information itself, or what are some things that you all have learned?
I want to be careful because we haven't finished the survey just yet.
Yeah.
I have looked at the data just to kind of get a sense, honestly, just to make sure that the data is coming in correctly, that there's no errors with the way the maps are filling out. I want to be very careful about doing too much analysis until we've completed the data collection.
Yeah.
I do think that it's been helpful to see we had like 20 responses right off the bat before we did any promotion around the event.
That's great.
And so that has been really great. We have seen that pace kind of slow down a little bit. I do want to make sure that I call out, Erica has done a great deal of work in putting together some prizes that we are offering to folks who fill out the survey. Okay. And that is funded, correct me if I'm wrong, that's funded by Interact.
That is funded, a grant from Interact for Health. They have been wonderfully helpful in us moving forward in some of these projects that we're doing. So there are 13 prize baskets. And we tried to cater these to the different types of populations, different types of people living in Warsaw. So some of the baskets that we have, they're all valued around $200 a piece or so. So we have a student basket that has a Kindle tablet and some supplies in it. We have a self-care that contains like a weighted blanket, some adult coloring books, a journal. We've got Reds, UK, Bengals. So those are all separate baskets that have sort of memorabilia, fan stuff in there. We've also got dog care, cat care, house cleaning, or like general home. We've got a gardening.
I think there's a camping one in there.
There is a camping one as well. Yeah, it's got a couple of tents, sleeping bag, quite a bit of stuff to win, and it is free to enter. When you take the survey online, once you complete it, it will ask if you'd like to be entered into a drawing for it. If you choose to do so, then you can go through and fill out. You'll kind of pick its top 3 that you would like to receive. Then we'll do our drawing once the survey's completed, and we get all that data in, all of our responses, and we'll do a drawing for the people that have picked their top 3 baskets. So.
Any other details?
I think that's the big stuff.
You guys are concise. You're tight on this. I was like, we're 13 in. I'm like, I feel good. Like, this is a lot of information. This is really good. No, this is really good. So I was like, I don't want to miss anything. So this is.
I think it's really important to note that this is an opportunity for members of the community. When we talk about community level prevention, one of the other phrases that we come back to is that it's about giving someone a voice, and that it's particularly about giving a voice to people who may not necessarily be heard from as often. And this is a chance for people to be invested in how can they make Warsaw a safer community, and how can they make sure that their voices are heard and what they think is important. about making Warsaw a safer community. And again, like, we don't want to focus on the negative. What are the things that they love about Warsaw? What are the things that we can celebrate? What are the things that we really need to put a lot of attention into? Because those are the successes and the wins that Warsaw as a community has. I think that that's letting people know that this is a chance for them to be invested in the community and in the direction that the community is going is a really important point.
What is the end date for this?
June 30th.
June 30th. Okay, so we're coming up.
Yeah, we're coming up quick.
Okay, we'll get this out. We'll get on it. Get right on it.